booties for black girl nerds.
So Eric Frankenstein, he carries a lot of depth in this series. As you were performing this character, how did you balance his monstrous origins with his humanity?
Um, that's a great question. I think that it's a lot of good writing that you start with. And then as I started to think about the character and his iterations throughout time, there's something about how he was created to be a companion to man or whatever by Frankenstein. And he he was I remembered from Brana's Frankenstein with De Niro that like there was something about him reading and like being erudite. So he's trying real hard, but he's cobbled together through people's different spleen and liver, and he's got this insane passion of a thing that never asked to be born. So like a teenager. But yeah,
Right.
but no, so it's sort of easy when you tap into you know, his pain, the fact that he was created by like a hubristic person. I mean, it's a bit like, yeah, I mean, he is a monster, but he has a lot to draw on where he can feel himself human in these monstrous acts. And then the passionate like insanity is just narcissism and just need and just ego, like just it's just hunger.
Yeah. That's what I love about this show as we learn throughout each of these episodes and throughout this journey that these monsters, ironically, are more human than they are monsters. And that's what I love about the way it's written and the way we see that they're depicted. Did you have any input into shaping Eric's personality or the dialogue?
We did improv. I mean, one of the great things that James did was he set the first recording session I had was he had me and Frank both together on Zoom, and we got to play off each other, and we get to overlap, and then we got to improv a little bit too, just in terms of, there's times in which Frankenstein really wants to be understood and really very angry at people, and I think it's fun to have another actor, certainly to have Frank, who's a really great actor, a straight man for someone when you're giving a broad performance, he really kind of grounds it. So that was fun to have the two of us be able to interact in that way. And I talked about a lot of ideas with James about who he is and how he behaves. And I think actors are always giving sort of input through their performances, like how the color of what my story is I'm telling. But the scripts were pretty tight, and it wasn't that I didn't want to go off script or improv. It's just that I didn't feel the need to. Like I felt like the story was pretty well told, and it was more like coloring the flashes of passion and anger along with the who do I think I should be, who do people want me to be, who's going to be best for the woman that I love, and then the need, and so the color between those two things is really what I was able to latch onto that really propelled him forward through the performance.
If anybody knows how to write a irreverent band of misfits, it's James Gunn. So
That's true.
I've got to ask you this question while I've got you. We're very excited about Red Guardian's return and Thunderbolts. How has your character evolved since we've seen him in Black Widow? And what can fans expect with his dynamic within the team?
I mean, it doesn't start out well for Red Guardian. He sort of ended Black Widow on maybe a high note of his life. He'd broken out of prison, he'd reconnected with people, he sort of, helped fight Dreykov and take down the Ren Room. And I mean, just incredibly heroic things. And he gets on a helicopter with a bunch of other widows, and you think like, oh, he's gonna sail off into the sunset and become some great hero. And of course, he must have gotten in his own way because when we start Thunderbolts, he's not in a terrific place. And I think that I think what we explore a little bit in the movie too is the death of Natasha and how that's affected him. We've seen it a little bit with Yelena's character already, but um, in the broader Hawkeye thing. But we explore what that does to a family dynamic when you have someone who is the charismatic golden child and kind of the glue of whatever family, the savior, and that person goes away, what's left? Um, and it's a very fun question dramatically to play. And these people are all like messed up. I mean, one of the great things about this movie is that it, in some ways, has this reflection on what a superhero is and if a superhero can act in isolation and if that power itself is not a detriment in isolation and if that power only succeeds through collaboration and through compromise. Um, and I think that that's going to be one of the things that this team comes together and tries to find is there's a lot of egos and a lot of provocation and a lot of anger, depression. These are not great people, and yet they have to find ways. And yet almost in spite of themselves they find ways, and I think that's very sophisticatedly done. And when I watched a cut of the movie, it's quite, I think it's a real quite beautiful movie, and it takes, it's a fun, hilarious, amazing superhero movie, but it does have some uh really interesting things to say about struggling in this world. And I was moved, and I'm not always moved. So I was very excited about that.
Well, it sounds like it's going to take us on an emotional roller coaster, and I'm ready for it. I absolutely love Creature Commandos. Brilliant job. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. I really appreciate the conversation, and all the
Pleasure.
best for everything that
Thank
you
you.
do. I love your work.
Oh, thank you so much. Nice to see
Nice seeing you too. Take care.
Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds.